On a truly dark night, far from any town, you can see your own galaxy from the inside. A pale river of light pouring from one horizon to the other, so soft that it looks like cloud, so faint that most people alive today have never seen it. It is not cloud. It is the combined glow of 100 billion suns, so far away that they blur into mist. And you are inside it tonight, looking out through the branches of your own home. Hello there, and welcome. However long your day has been, you can set it all down now. Get comfortable. Let your shoulders soften. Let your breathing slow. Tonight, I have gathered the gentlest facts about the Milky Way. What that pale river really is, where we sit inside it, how long our slow journey around it takes, and what the old peoples of the world called it, back when everyone alive could see it. You don't need to remember any of it. Let each fact drift through you like the faintest starlight and pass. So let your body grow heavy and warm. And let us begin with the pale river and what it is made of. Here is the first soft fact, and it took humanity a surprisingly long time to be certain of. That milky band across the sky is made of stars. Not gas, not cloud, not the breath of anything. Stars in numbers past all counting, so distant that no eye can separate them, blurring together into a soft, continuous glow. When the first telescope was turned on it, 4 centuries ago, the pale mist resolved, at last, into countless individual points, and the astronomer looking through it understood he was seeing a multitude. To rest beneath the pale river is to look at a crowd so vast it has softened into weather. And you are inside it. That is the strangest and most homely fact about the Milky Way. We do not see our galaxy from outside, and never will. We live within it, out among its stars, and so we see it edge on from within, the way you would see a forest by standing in the middle of it and looking along the trees. The band of light is simply the direction where our galaxy is thickest. Look up out of the plane, and the stars thin, and you are looking out into the emptiness beyond. To rest tonight is to lie inside the very thing you are looking at, which is not a view, but a home. And working out its shape from the inside took centuries of patient effort, which is one of the quiet triumphs of human curiosity. A brother and sister, 2 centuries ago, spent years counting stars in patch after patch of sky, night after night in the cold. She recording at a desk, while he called down numbers from the telescope, trying to map a structure they could never step outside of. Their map was wrong in important ways, but it was the first honest attempt, and everything since has been a correction of it. To rest tonight is to benefit from a great many people who stood in the dark, counting, so that we could know where we live. And one of their successors made the discovery that we are not at the center, which was, at the time, quietly devastating, and is now simply comforting. By mapping the great globular clusters that swarm around our galaxy, an astronomer noticed they were all heaped toward one side of the sky, and reasoned that the true center must lie in that direction, far away, and that our sun was well out toward the edge of things. We are not the middle of anything. We are a good way out, in a calm branch, which turned out to be the best possible news. To rest tonight is to be glad to be somewhere quiet rather than somewhere central, and it is enormous beyond any useful comparison. Light, which crosses from the moon to your window in about a second, takes something like 100,000 years to cross our galaxy from one side to the other. a message sent at the greatest speed the universe permits, from one edge to the far edge, would arrive long after every language now spoken had been forgotten. To rest inside something so large is to be relieved, gently, of any sense that tonight's worries need to be carried at full size. Now, where we sit, which is a very fortunate address, our sun is not at the center, and not out at the lonely rim, but partway out, in a quiet stretch between two of the great spiral arms, in a modest side branch of our own. The neighborhoods nearer the center are crowded and bright and busy with radiation. Out here it is calmer, steadier, gentler. We live in the galactic suburbs, and it appears to have suited us very well. To rest tonight is to sleep in a quiet neighborhood, in the calm part of a very large city, which is where most good sleeping is done. And the shape of the whole thing is a slow, beautiful spiral, a great flattened disk of stars with curving arms winding out from a bright central bulge, wrapped in a faint halo of older stars above and below. If you could see it from far away, it would look like a pale pinwheel, turning so slowly that 100 human lifetimes would show no change at all. To rest tonight is to be one small, warm point inside a shape that would be beautiful from outside and is beautiful from within. And the disk is remarkably thin, which few people picture correctly. Set against its enormous width, our galaxy's disk is proportionally thinner than a sheet of paper laid over a dinner table. It is a vast, delicate plate of stars, wide beyond imagining and comparatively shallow, which is exactly why we see the Milky Way as a narrow band rather than a general glow. We are inside a very wide, very thin thing, looking along its length. To rest tonight is to lie inside something more like a still pond than a sphere, spread flat and calm across an unimaginable width, and above and below that thin disk floats a great faint halo, and scattered through it are the globular clusters, tight ancient balls of hundreds of thousands of stars, some of the oldest objects in existence. They formed before the disk did, and they orbit the galaxy on long, slow paths that carry them far above the plane and back down through it, over hundreds of millions of years. They are essentially retirement communities of very old stars, drifting quietly, keeping their distance from all the star-forming activity below. To rest tonight is to be reminded that the oldest parts of a place often live slightly apart from it, and are none the worse for that. And a few of those halo stars are nearly as old as the universe itself. Astronomers have found stars in our galaxy whose measured ages come within a few 100 million years of the beginning of everything. Ancient survivors that were shining before the disk had properly assembled around them, and are still shining now, quietly, having outlasted every generation of star-born after them. To rest tonight is to share a galaxy with things that were old when everything was young, and are still going. And the spiral arms are not solid objects, which is one of the loveliest subtleties in astronomy. They are more like traffic, a slow-moving wave of compression that stars drift into and out of over millions of years, glowing brighter where the crowding triggers new stars to form. Our sun has passed through the arms several times in its life, and will again. The arms are patterns, not places. They are what the galaxy is doing, rather than what it is made of. To rest tonight is to be part of a pattern that flows and reforms, and never worries about holding its shape. Now, our own journey, because we are traveling as you lie there. The Sun, with the Earth and all the planets in tow, is orbiting the center of the galaxy at an astonishing speed, hundreds of thousands of miles an hour, and yet the circle is so vast that one full lap takes somewhere around 230 million years. They call it a galactic year. And here is the fact that stops people. Since the last time our solar system was in this exact spot on its orbit, the entire age of the dinosaurs has come and gone. The Sun has completed only about 20 of these laps in its whole existence. The Earth is roughly 20 galactic years old. To rest tonight is to be aboard the slowest and grandest carousel there is, moving faster than you can imagine, arriving nowhere in a hurry. And you have never once felt it. You are moving right now, in your bed, at hundreds of thousands of miles an hour around the galactic center, and also with the Earth around the Sun, and also with the Earth's own turning. And every one of those motions is so smooth and so steady that your body reports absolute stillness. Motion without any bumps at all feels exactly like rest. To rest tonight is to be carried at unimaginable speed, in perfect comfort, without spilling a single glass of water anywhere on the planet. And the path is gently wavy, which is a lovely detail. As the Sun travels its great circle, it also bobs slowly up and down through the plane of the disk, rising a little above it, sinking back through, drifting a little below over tens of millions of years. Our journey around the galaxy is not a flat circle, but a long, slow, gentle wave, like a horse on a carousel, rising and falling as it goes around. To rest tonight is to be riding the gentlest wave in existence, one complete rise and fall of which takes longer than the mammals have existed. And our immediate neighborhood is unusually empty and quiet. The Sun sits inside what astronomers call the local bubble, a large region of thinner-than-normal gas, apparently cleared out long ago by ancient stellar explosions well before our time. We drift through this quiet clearing, with the nearest dense clouds a good distance off, in a calm pocket of an already calm suburb. To rest tonight is to be in a quiet room, in a quiet house, on a quiet street, in the calm part of town. And the stars nearest us are drifting along with us, more or less, all of them traveling the same great circle at similar speeds. So the constellations change only very slowly. The patterns your distant ancestors saw are very nearly the patterns you would see, and will hold their shapes, roughly, for many thousands of years yet. The sky is not fixed, but it changes at a pace so gentle that entire civilizations experience it as permanent. To rest tonight is to sleep beneath patterns your great-grandparents knew, and your great-grandchildren will. Now, the heart of it. At the very center of the Milky Way, hidden behind thick clouds of dust, sits something enormously massive and entirely dark, around which the innermost stars swing in tight, fast orbits. Astronomers tracked those stars for decades, watching them loop around a point where nothing visible sits, and from their paths worked out the mass of the thing they circle. It is millions of times the mass of our Sun, packed into a space smaller than our solar system. And a few years ago, using telescopes spread across the whole Earth, working as one, we finally made a picture of it. A soft orange ring of light around a perfect dark center, the first portrait of the heart of our home. To rest tonight is to know the center of your galaxy has been photographed, and that it turned out to look like a quiet ring of warm light. And it is far, far away, and utterly no danger to anyone. It sits some 26,000 light years from us, so distant that its light left before the last ice age ended. It is not pulling us in. We orbit it the way the Earth orbits the Sun, comfortably, stably, at a safe and constant distance, and have done since long before there was an Earth. To rest tonight is to be held in a wide, steady, unhurried orbit by something that has never once tugged at you. And the dust that hides it is worth its own gentle fact. The dark lanes and rifts you can see running down the length of the Milky Way, splitting the pale river in two, are not gaps or emptiness. They are enormous clouds of cold dust, blocking the light of the stars behind. Some of them have their own old names, given by people who saw shapes in them. The great dark rift running down the summer sky was seen by some as a road, by others as a river's dark bank, by others still as the outline of a great bird. To rest beneath those dark lanes is to look at the only shadows in the sky, thrown by clouds you could never touch. Now, the stars we live among. There are somewhere between 100 and 400 billion stars in our galaxy, a number so far past intuition that it has to be handled sideways. If you counted one star every second, without pause, it would take you thousands of years. And nearly every one of those stars, we now know, is likely to have planets. Worlds are ordinary. They are one of the most common things the galaxy makes. To rest tonight is to sleep on one ordinary world among billions, which is a far cozier thought than being the only one. And most of our neighbors are dim and modest. The bright, famous stars are rare. The overwhelming majority of stars in the Milky Way are small, cool, red, and quiet, burning so thriftily that they will still be shining trillions of years from now, long after the bright ones have finished. The galaxy is mostly made of gentle, long-lived, unremarkable stars, doing nothing dramatic for an extremely long time. To rest tonight is to be in excellent company, statistically, as one more modest thing intending to last. And our galaxy has one feature that took a long time to establish, because we sit inside it and cannot see it plainly. Through the middle of the Milky Way runs a bar, a long, straight-ish concentration of stars crossing the central bulge, with the spiral arms trailing from its ends. A great many galaxies have one. Ours does too, and we only became confident of it in recent decades. By patiently mapping the motions of stars, we cannot directly see through the dust. To rest tonight is to live in a house whose floor plan we are still, gently and happily, working out. And the galaxy recycles everything. When the largest stars finish their lives, they return their material to the clouds around them, enriched with the heavier elements they made inside themselves. And those clouds go on to form new stars and new worlds, a little richer each time. Our own sun is a later generation, built from material processed through earlier stars, which is precisely why there is iron in the Earth's core and calcium in your bones. The galaxy has been composting itself for billions of years, and everything solid you have ever touched is the result. To rest tonight is to be made of well-used material, gathered carefully and passed along. And the colors of the stars, if you look closely on a dark night, are genuinely visible. The hottest stars burn blue-white, the middling ones yellow like our sun, and the cool ones a soft orange or red. Some pairs sit close enough together to compare, and the color difference in a small telescope can be startling. Gold beside blue. The galaxy is not black and white. It is faintly, quietly colored, and always has been. To rest tonight is to know the sky is warmer in tone than it first appears, and always rewarding to a patient eye. And the nearest of them is still unimaginably far. The closest star system to our sun lies just over 4 light years away, which sounds almost near, until you learn that our fastest spacecraft would take tens of thousands of years to reach it. Our galaxy is not crowded. It is a vast, dark space with a scattering of warm points in it, each one hopelessly far from the next, which means every star you can see tonight has been photographed by no one, visited by nothing, and simply shines, alone, in an enormous quiet. To rest tonight is to keep company with a sky full of solitary lights, none of them lonely, all of them patient. Now, the nurseries, because the galaxy is still making stars. Scattered through the arms are great glowing clouds of gas and dust, where new stars are forming right now, slowly collapsing knots of cold material warming toward their own ignition. The famous ones have soft names: the Orion Nebula, the Lagoon, the Eagle. Through a small telescope, they are faint grey smudges. In truth, they are vast, colourful, and busy, though busy on the galactic timescale, which is to say almost perfectly still. Our own sun was born in a cloud like that, some 4.5 billion years ago, among a nursery of siblings that have long since drifted apart across the galaxy. Somewhere out there tonight, scattered and unrecognizable, are the stars our sun was born beside. To rest tonight is to sleep beside a star, with a family, most of it long since lost, all of it still shining somewhere. And those nurseries glow in colors, though not to the naked eye. The reds come from hydrogen, gently lit by young stars nearby, the blues from starlight, scattering off fine dust, exactly as our own daytime sky is blue. The great photographs everyone has seen are true in their structure and generous in their color, gathering over hours what an eye cannot gather in a glance. The clouds are really there, really that shape, and really that faint. To rest tonight is to be fond of a universe that keeps most of its color just below the threshold of ordinary sight, reserved for the patient. And some clouds show themselves only by hiding things. Dark nebulae are cold, dense clouds of dust, with no star lit inside them, and they appear as inky holes in the star fields, places where the sky has simply been erased. One famous one, seen in silhouette against a glowing background, is shaped so exactly like a horse's head that its name has never needed changing. To rest tonight is to know that some of the darkest patches overhead are not empty at all, but full and merely waiting. And where a nursery has finished its work, it leaves behind a cluster of young stars, born together, drifting together for a while before the galaxy pulls them apart. The prettiest of them can be seen with the naked eye as a small, tight knot of blue stars. And nearly every culture noticed it and named it, usually as sisters, or a hen and her chicks, or a small handful of jewels. To rest tonight is to look up at a family of newborn stars that half the world has, at some point, called sisters. And a few new stars are born in our galaxy every year. Not many by cosmic standards. Our Milky Way is middle-aged and settled, making perhaps a handful of new suns annually, quietly, out in the arms, without any fuss. The great burst of creation is long past. What continues is a slow, steady trickle, sun after sun, year after year, indefinitely. To rest tonight is to live in a galaxy that has stopped rushing and simply continues, which is what maturity looks like at every scale. Now, some soft facts about seeing it. The Milky Way is brightest in the direction of the galactic center, which from our northern skies rides low in the summer, in the direction of the constellations we call the Archer and the Scorpion. That is why summer nights show the richest, densest, most spectacular Milky Way, a great glowing cloud low in the south, thick with stars. And it is fainter, thinner, and colder in the winter sky, when we are looking outward, away from the center, toward the quiet edge. To rest tonight is to be excused from knowing which way you are facing, and to be facing something wonderful regardless. And most people now cannot see it at all. In much of the developed world, the night sky is bright enough with artificial light that the Milky Way is simply invisible, and a great many people have lived their entire lives without ever once seeing the galaxy they live in. When large power outages have darkened cities, emergency lines have received calls from people frightened by a strange silver cloud overhead, not knowing what it was. There is something aching in that, and something hopeful too. Since the moment the lights go out, the galaxy is still there, exactly as bright as it always was, waiting. To rest tonight is to know your galaxy is directly overhead this minute, whether or not the sky here is dark enough to show it, and it can be found again quite easily. Dark sky reserves now exist on every inhabited continent, places set aside where lighting is kept low, specifically so the old sky can be seen. People drive for hours to sit in the cold and look up. Almost everyone who sees a truly dark Milky Way for the first time reports the same reaction, which is silence, followed by a small involuntary sound. To rest tonight is to have that experience still ahead of you or behind you, and either way to know it is available at any time for the price of a drive. Now, the old names, because everyone who could see it named it, and the names are lovely. Our word galaxy comes from the Greek for milk, and the Milky Way was the milk of a goddess spilled across the sky. In Latin, it was the Milky Road, and in dozens of European languages, it is a road still. It is the Winter Street in Sweden, the Straw Road across much of the Middle East and Central Asia, named for the trail of straw dropped by a thief hurrying home in the dark. To rest tonight is to lie beneath something named in 100 languages as a route home, and elsewhere it was a river. In China and Japan, it is the Silver River, or the River of Heaven, and the great old story tells of two lovers, a weaver girl and a herdsman, placed on either bank and permitted to meet only once a year, when birds form a bridge across the stars. That festival is still kept every summer, with paper wishes tied to bamboo. Millions of people still celebrate a love story about the Milky Way. To rest tonight is to sleep beneath a river that has been carrying the same tender story for 2,000 years. And in the far south, where the Milky Way rides high and brilliant, some peoples saw the shapes not in the stars, but in the dark lanes between them. And one of the oldest of those figures is a great celestial emu, traced entirely in shadow, whose position through the year told people when the real emus were laying their eggs. A calendar, written in darkness rather than light, read for tens of thousands of years. To rest tonight is to be part of a species that found meaning even in the gaps and used them well. And in the Andes, the same dark clouds were read as animals coming to drink from the celestial river. A llama, a fox, a toad, arranged along the length of it. Across the whole world, wherever the sky was dark, people looked at this one thing and made from it roads, rivers, spilled milk, and animals at a watering place. It may be the single most widely interpreted object in human experience. To rest tonight is to inherit all of those readings at once, and to be free to hold whichever you like best. And there are gentler names still. Some peoples of the far north called it the Winter Way, or the Path of Birds, having noticed that migrating flocks travel along roughly its line, so that the sky's road and the bird's road appeared to be the same road. In parts of Africa, it was the backbone of the night. In Finnish, it is the Path of Birds, a name thousands of years old. And modern astronomy later found that the galaxy's plane does indeed run near the routes some birds follow. To rest tonight is to lie beneath a sky whose oldest names sometimes turn out, quietly, to have been paying attention. And in many traditions, it was a road for the departed, a soft, bright path the dead walked, or a bridge between worlds. Given that it is the largest, palest, most inarguably road-like thing anyone has ever seen overhead, the interpretation feels less like superstition and more like an entirely reasonable reading of the evidence available. To rest tonight is to be gentle with everyone who ever looked up and made a story, since the sky genuinely does look like a road, and the finest evenings for seeing it come in late summer, when the galaxy stands high and rich in the middle of the night, and again in the very early hours of spring. It needs a moonless night, real darkness, and about half an hour for the eyes to open fully. Then it simply appears, gradually, as though the sky were slowly developing. And once seen, it cannot be unseen for the rest of the night. To rest tonight is to hold that as a small promise for some future dark evening, on some future hillside, in no particular hurry. Now some gentler modern facts. The Milky Way has small companions, a scattering of dwarf galaxies orbiting it like moons, some of them slowly being pulled apart and absorbed. Two of them, the Magellanic Clouds, are visible to the naked eye from the southern hemisphere as soft detached patches of light, and sailors used them for navigation for centuries. Our galaxy is not alone out there. It travels with a small, quiet family. To rest tonight is to be part of a household rather than a single house. And our galaxy has been growing gently all its life by welcoming these smaller ones in. Streams of stars can be traced across our sky, faint ribbons that were once separate small galaxies, now stretched and woven into ours. Some of the stars overhead tonight were not born here. They arrived long ago from somewhere else and were quietly taken in. To rest tonight is to sleep in a galaxy substantially built out of arrivals. And the whole of it, stars and gas and dust together, is held by something no one can see. The visible matter alone cannot account for how fast the outer parts of our galaxy are turning. There is a great invisible halo of something, dark matter, wrapped around and through everything, quietly holding the whole spiral together. We do not know what it is. We only know that without it, the galaxy would fly apart. Most of what holds your home together, it turns out, is invisible and unnamed and entirely reliable. To rest tonight is to be quite comfortable with that, since it is true of most homes. And we have found ways to see through the dust that hides so much of our own galaxy. Radio waves and infrared light pass straight through the clouds that block ordinary starlight, so telescopes tuned to those wavelengths can look right into the crowded heart of the Milky Way and map what lies behind the curtain. It was radio astronomy that first traced the spiral arms of our own galaxy in the middle of the last century by listening to the faint, steady hum of cold hydrogen gas. Our galaxy was mapped, in the end, by listening rather than looking. To rest tonight is to appreciate that some things reveal themselves only to the quiet frequencies. And in recent years, a small spacecraft has been patiently measuring the positions and motions of well over 1 billion stars in our galaxy, again and again, year after year, to build the most detailed map of the Milky Way ever made. From those measurements, astronomers can now run the whole neighborhood backward and forward in time, watching the stars drift, seeing where they were and where they are going, somewhere out. Beyond the moon, quietly, something has been counting our stars, and it has counted 1 billion of them. To rest tonight is to live at a moment when our home is finally being properly mapped, gently, by machines that never sleep. Now, as our journey draws toward its close, 3 last soft facts. The first is about the light. Every star you can see with your unaided eye tonight belongs to our own galaxy, and nearly all of them are quite close by galactic standards, within 1,000 light-years or so, a tiny local bubble of neighbors. The naked eye sky is not the universe. It is the front garden, and it is already more than a person can count in a lifetime. To rest tonight is to be content with the front garden, which no one has ever finished admiring. The second is about permanence. The Milky Way has been turning for well over 10 billion years, and will keep turning for many billions more. Everything that has ever happened on Earth has happened inside a single sliver of one of its slow laps. It was here before us. It is entirely unaffected by us, and it will be here, still quietly making a few stars a year, long after the last person who ever worried about anything has rested. To rest tonight is to hand today to something that has seen 20 galactic years and has never once been in a hurry. And the third is the softest. You do not live under the Milky Way. You live in it. You are not a spectator of this galaxy, but a resident made of its material, orbiting its center, carried by it every second of your life at a speed you have never felt. The pale river in the sky is not scenery. It is the rest of the house, seen from your own room, with the door open. To rest tonight is to be at home, in the fullest sense the word will stretch to. You don't need to hold on to any of this. Let every fact drift off now, softly, like starlight blurring into a band of mist. But perhaps keep one small thought as you go. Everything you have ever known has happened inside this one quiet spiral. Every ocean, every forest, every person you love, every night you have ever slept through. All of it inside a galaxy so large that light takes 100,000 years to cross it, and so calm that nothing about it will change in your lifetime, or your grandchildren's, or theirs. You are held in the widest, oldest, steadiest arms there are. Somewhere right now, in an arm not far from ours, a new star is quietly finishing its long formation. Somewhere the dark clouds are drifting, unhurried, across the pale river. And here, in this moment, in the calm suburbs of a vast and beautiful spiral, you are safe and warm and exactly where you need to be. So let your breathing slow, like a galaxy turning. Let your body grow heavy, settling into the quiet arm of a quiet spiral. Let every last thought blur softly into the general glow, the way 100 billion suns blur into a river of light. The galaxy has the night, and the next 100 million of them. It does not need watching. Sleep well, traveler, and thank you for looking out at our own home with me tonight. Good night.